not created to be consumed by others. But what ends up happening, like you said, is there's a scene taking place and you're here on the outside watching, consuming it. It's now over time, it's conditioning you to just simply look at others, more specifically females, as objects that are there for consumption.
Yep.
So if we take it the next step further, what this report has then gone on to say, and it's supported by data, is those that view pornography on a regular basis are more likely to believe in quote unquote rape myths, such as women enjoy rape. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that all pornography is this way, but many times it's putting men in a more dominant position with women being submissive to them. So realizing that over time, if this is something that you're consuming every single day, you're watching men being dominant, men being overbearing to women, and women just gladly accepting it. Now, sometimes the women on there, like they're willingly doing this. So this is not a standpoint against what the woman is doing in, but many times that's not the case. Many times these are women that are put in there as submissive figures. But if you're conditioning yourself over time that men are in the sexual field are meant to be more domineering, you're conditioning yourself to believe this. And I think this addresses why there's been a massive increase in the amount of sexual assaults. So I've read a multitude of articles, and it's documented that just within the military alone, this is going back to 2012, the Commission of Civil Rights conducted a study that there were over 26,000 sexual assaults among service members. So this is active men and women. And they found that only 46% of these sexual assaults were actually reported to authority. Most shockingly of all, they found that 1 in 4 women in the armed forces have been sexually assaulted, while 4 out of 5 of them have been sexually harassed. So with that in mind, one thing I would love for you to share, Kyle, is your time spent in active duty. The culture around pornography, from what you've shared with me before, is it was something that was not just widely accepted, but it was actually in a way kind of promoted.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was encouraged. I remember I remember my first time in Iraq. I mean, we had a hard drive that people would just pass around. It was nothing but porn. Just a terabyte of hard drive, a terabyte of space on that hard drive. And it was, it was laughed about. It was joked about. But looking back, people characterize that as military culture. But honestly, it's not. That's general culture at large. I think to a large degree. Men. Your average trainee going into boot camp is 18, 19 years old, right? They're already exposed to porn. They already had these. I'm not going to say they don't have proclivities to sexual assault, but they have an association, and I would venture to say they have an unhealthy association with porn already, right? And I think that if you looked at society at large, those numbers in the military across certain segments of society would probably be about the same. And so I know I forget the name of the study, but it came out between 2016 and 2018. This was after the sexual assault scandal at the Naval Academy. That the military did this huge study, and they enacted a lot of new policies that were meant to discourage this. And in fact, sexual assaults actually went up by like 30%. Even after the military took these steps to try and mitigate that culture, that segment of mentality in the culture. And so I think really, honestly, it speaks to a larger society issue. In the military, given its very nature, the military isn't there to. I mean, the military is there to defend our nation, to win wars, right? It has a very specific goal, right? So it doesn't have time to sit there and tell you porn's bad, you have to be a good person. You know, you need to have decent and solid morals. It's taking an 18 and 19-year-old person who many times is not fully developed emotionally, putting a gun in their hand and saying, "Hey, we're going to send you overseas. We're going to put you in situations where it's very likely you could lose your life or somebody else, you know," right? Very so they're increasing, you know, and a lot of these kids, you know, this is the first time living away from home, right? And so stress levels are through the roof, right? And they already think they're on top of the world because now they have a gun in their hand, right? Their hair's on fire. So you have a lot of different things kind of going on. The last thing and so one of the ways, at least for me, that's how I dealt with the stress of being in the military, being deployed, being gone all the time, was porn. It was an outlet, right? It was safe because I wasn't hurting anybody, right? I'm getting a release, right? It's like smoking a cigarette, right? You know, you get that feel good, right? You get that stress relief. That's what it was for me. And I think that in that sense, the reason why you have such a high level of sexual assaults in the military is because porn, well, for one reason, and obviously I'm no expert, but I know that porn plays a large part in that equation, and how it is accepted not only in the military but society at large.
Yeah, we're taking this this small fragment of, you know, people's society, like an isolated study here, you know, with people that are already maybe innately more aggressive, like the quietest person in the classroom, like that's, you know, that is kind of withdrawn, like that's not the person that's getting on the front lines and like ready to go. So there's something, you know, there's something uniquely different about every single person that steps into the military. And then so innately they're a little bit more aggressive. Then we put them through a training to tap into that and be able to find it to an even higher extent degree. But then we promote something to them that we know over time, because our brains have these mirror neurons that are going to continue to condition their brain in a certain way. So yeah, I don't want it to come across as like I'm saying that this is the main cause of why the assault is at the level that it is. But if we can identify that maybe promoting it and encouraging it at the degree at which it sounds like it was while you were there, maybe is not doing anything. I know you made a comment like you weren't hurting anybody, but you were, you know, now, like you were definitely hurting yourself.